Hey folks, Ed here from Brain Pulp TV, and in this video I'm going to be talking about some Amonkhet spoilers. So even though Amonkhet Spoiler Week doesn't start till the beginning of next week, Wizards just yesterday released a bunch of spoiled cards and mechanics for the set, which, now that I think about it, means that the whole idea that Spoiler Week doesn't start till next week is a lie. That we've been lied to, because if we started off this week with a bunch of spoilers, then this week should be considered a... Shut up and keep talking? Fine. So 2 quick things before we get into the spoilers. 1, a prediction, because I didn't do a prediction video, and now that spoilers are coming out, doing a prediction video after a set is spoiled is dumb. So the prediction I have is that there will be a new Mox released either in this set or the following set, and it's probably going to be called something like Mox Scarab. God, don't be called Mox Brick. And it's going to require you to sacrifice a goat or give some blood or your firstborn to get it onto the board for free, and it's still going to be broken because that's the way of Moxes. And this is based on no facts or data whatsoever. This is just wishful thinking on my part because I would really like a new Mox. And the second thing is, on top of Wizards releasing a bunch of spoilers on Monday, we here at the channel had our own little release on Monday, and I'm just going to ignore how weird that sentence sounded out loud, to thank you guys for getting us to 300 subscribers. We've since surpassed it, but at the time we were just at 300. We announced a giveaway / challenge, which will allow you guys the chance to win a $25 store credit from the online store topdeckhero.com, which sells Magic singles. So if you haven't seen that video, a link will be appearing above my head right now. But enough about all that. Let's talk some spoilers, and we'll start off with the Buy a Box promo card, Archfiend of Ifnir. The Archfiend is a 5-drop, 3 and 2 black, will get you a 5/4 demon creature with flying, and whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponents control. Cycling 2. Now, if you're anything like me, the most exciting thing about this card isn't the card itself, it's the fact that we now know that cycling is back in Amonkhet, which is great. If you're not familiar with cycling, as it states in the card, it's a mechanic where you pay a certain mana cost, you discard that card from your hand, and then you draw another card, which on the surface may not sound super exciting, but it is just the tip of the iceberg as far as what cycling can bring to a set. For example, there are cards in the past, and like with the Archfiend here, that will react to cycling, so that when you cycle, it will trigger some sort of effect or ability. There are cards in the past where when you cycle, instead of just drawing a card, you get to search your library for land and put it into your hand. There are other cards still, which when you cycle, depending on if you're paying more or less than the actual CMC of the card itself, will give you an effect which is either just slightly lesser or greater than that which is on the card itself, and you still get to draw a card on top of it. So overall, cycling is a fun little mechanic, and I'm thrilled to see it back in action. However, we're going to put that aside for now and talk about 2 of the new mechanics that were spoiled, Embalm and Exert, which were showcased on both the Game Day Participation promo card and the Top 8 Finish promo card, respectively. Starting with Embalm, we have Trueheart Duelist. For 1 and 1 white, gets you a 2/2 human warrior creature. Trueheart Duelist can block an additional creature each combat. Embalm, 2 and 1 white. Now, the way this mechanic works is fairly simple. Once a card with Embalm is in your graveyard, you can pay its Embalm cost and move it from the graveyard onto the battlefield. It is now a zombie on top of all the other creature types it had while in life. None of this, as far as I know and hope, is how embalming works in the real world, so I'm not exactly sure why Wizards settled on that as the keyword, but magic doesn't exist in the real world either, so let's explain it that way. One thing to note though, you can only use Embalm the same time you can cast a sorcery. However, on the plus side, it also isn't considered casting, so bringing a creature out this way can't be countered in the traditional methods. And as an added bonus, Wizards is producing tokens to match up with each of the abominable creatures. Abominable? Abominable. I do not think that's a real word. As an added bonus, Wizards is also producing tokens that will match up with creatures that have Embalm, not just to show off their new zombie status, but also their fancy new outfits. Now, obviously, we're not going to be able to know this for sure for quite a while. However, I'm really curious if, at least in 1 or 2 instances, Wizards was kind enough to match up, or maybe cruel enough to match up both Embalm and cycling on the same card, because I think that could really set up some fun, crazy play. However, we're going to move past Embalm now and go on to our ambassador of the other new mechanic, Exert, the Glorybringer. Glorybringer is a 5-drop, 3 and 2 red, gets you a 4/4 dragon creature with both flying and haste. You may exert Glorybringer as it attacks. When you do, it deals 4 damage to target non-dragon creature an opponent controls. Now, Exert really seems to have the potential to be a powerful mechanic. However, the downside is that once you've exerted your creature, it will not untap during your next untap phase, presumably because it needs a nap, which, in my case at least, is how exertion works in the real world. So, Wizards, you nailed the name on this one. Now, as an added Exert tip, which was mentioned in the article in which this card was spoiled, you can get around Exert by giving that creature Vigilance, or you can untap it using some sort of alternate untapping method. Or you can do something that Travis pitched in a previous Amonkhet video, Bolus Energy Drink.
Bolus Energy Drink, when you need to fight off exertion or when you spend an hour creating a graphic for another video and then find it only stayed on screen for 2 seconds and you say, F it, I'm gonna force that into every single Amonkhet video on the channel from here on out.
Warning, Bolus Energy Drink may contain high concentrations of sugar, caffeine, or nickel bolus urine.
So there's that option too. Next up, we have Oracle's Vault. Oracle's Vault is a 4-drop artifact. You can pay 2, tap it, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your turn, you may play that card, put a brick counter on Oracle's Vault. Or tap, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your turn, you may play this card without paying its mana cost. Activate this ability only if there are 3 or more brick counters on Oracle's Vault. Now, aside from being the exact type of fun card that I dream of building decks around, only to eventually have my affection spurned when it proves to be unplayable in any practical way, Oracle's Vault introduces the idea of brick counters. Wizards, you are killing me with the names of some of these things in this set, but moving on. Brick counters will apparently allow you to build up an artifact you've previously played into an even more powerful artifact, which it's still too early to tell the power level of this, but as far as the concept goes, I am completely on board with it. One thing, sadly, I am far less on board with right now are the new punch card tokens that Wizards are going to be printing up. And as the name suggests, they are cards which you will be able to punch out various little bits from. Now, I'm not a big fan of being excessively negative in videos, as I find that can be a very corrosive and unrewarding type of behavior. However, these particular tokens are not good, in my opinion. And there's several reasons why I feel that way. First of all, I guess I don't really understand from a practical standpoint who these are for. Presumably for a player who doesn't have access to dice or pennies or any of the other small counter type things that we all seem to carry around when we go to play Magic, and that we're usually more than willing to lend out to other people as well too as they need them. It just doesn't seem like something that's going to get used at all. Also, from a design standpoint, if you were going to go ahead and make these, I don't understand why you didn't make them round, because to me, circles would be 1, easier to punch out of cards, 2, less likely to get bent and damaged than rectangles will be, and 3, just look better. Now, I understand bricks are rectangular, but you can still fit a picture of a brick onto a circle. Granted, I do understand the concept of rectangular objects fitting better on a rectangular card. However, you can still fit 7 circles onto that card. In fact, if you're pressed for space, maybe do away with the detailed pictogram showing people how to remove something from a perforated sheet, which is something I have literally seen toddlers be able to figure out on their own. Still, at the end of the day, that is just my opinion, and maybe I am wrong. Maybe these will prove to be very useful to a lot of people. They are certainly more useful than an ad card, which I simply discard without looking at, or anything else that's not a token, which is something I actually collect. However, let's move past that little bit of negativity and instead focus on the list of cards that we'll find in the Wizards welcome decks. These are 30-card, monocolored, essentially training decks, which, as Wizards puts it, focuses on simple gameplay. This list contains a mixture of both reprints and new cards, which could be seen as relatively humdrum, but at the same time sports some wonderful new artwork which goes perfectly with the flavor of the set. Let's start off with the reprints. We have Impeccable Timing, Giant Spider, Mighty Leap, Ancient Crab, Fling, Spidery Grasp, and Gravedigger. Now, as I alluded to before, none of these are really barn burners, but on some personal notes, I'm happy to see Spidery Grasp from the original Innistrad block reprinted, as that was a fun little combat trick I enjoy drafting. Then again, I'm not a great limited player. And from a nostalgia standpoint, it's always great to see Gravedigger come back, and especially now with some new flavor-filled artwork. But for me, the big winner here is Fling. Not because of the card itself, but because I love the artwork. For those of you unfamiliar, in all previous printings, including the one that depicted straight-up decapitation, the Flingy was obviously not on board with the Flinger's strategy. But in this case, you can see that Minotaur is fucking down with literally being tossed into battle. I mean, look at it. It is the MTG equivalent of the Fastball Special. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, that's its new name. Fastball Special. Done. Okay, X-Men references aside, now let's get into the new cards that were spoiled from these welcome decks. First, we have Sixth Sense. For 1 green, you get an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. Next, we have Cursed Minotaur. For 2 and 1 black, you get a 3/2 zombie Minotaur creature with menace. Also in black, there's Dune Beetle. For 1 and a black, you get a 1/4 insect creature. Next up is Hyena Pack. For 2 and 2 red, you get a 3/4 hyena creature. Then we have Angler Drake. For 4 and 2 blue, you have a 4/4 Drake creature with flying. When Angler Drake enters the battlefield, you may return target creature to its owner's hand. And then finishing up with 2 cards that are going to be both in the welcome decks as well as the Planeswalker decks, we've got Graceful Cat. For 2 and 1 white, you get a 2/2 cat creature. Whenever Graceful Cat attacks, it gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. Then in black, you have Tattered Mummy. For 1 and a black, you have a 1/2 zombie jackal creature. When Tattered Mummy dies, each opponent loses 2 life. Once again, nothing super exciting here, though I do like me just about any creature that has built-in bounce. Also, Cursed Minotaur, which, along with the aforementioned Fastball Special, seems like a good indicator that possibly Minotaurs could play a decent role in this expansion. Granted, if true, that will mean absolutely nothing to most of you. However, it should be welcome news to at least one person I know who has a Minotaur deck they're constantly tinkering with. And last but not least, Graceful Cat, proving that no matter if they're big or small, hairless cats, still creepy as And if you do own a hairless cat and you're rushing to comment, please don't, because right here now, I apologize. On behalf of whoever gave you that creepy ass pet, I am so sorry. And on that note, let me wrap up this spoiler video. What are you excited to see that's been spoiled so far? What predictions do you have? Did I miss anything or make a mistake? Do you own a hairless cat? I know you're dying to tell me, so please let me know in the comments section below. You can also contact us or follow us on Twitter @BrainPulpTV, or contact and follow me directly on Twitter @GeekTragedy. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing, as it means a lot to us here. In the meantime, though, take care, everyone, and I'll see you all very soon.